Hi guys, hi, how's it going? How you doing today? Hopefully today finds you well. Today I am doing a video that's been going around. I saw it first on It's Just Steph's channel. I also think that there were a couple other creators that have done it since, and then my friend Steph, different Steph, also just did a collaboration with another individual in the beauty space doing the same thing. And I am recording mine today, but frankly, it's been on my list since I watched It's Just Steph do it. And I do believe that there were a couple of bigger creators that also did this, that maybe Steph from It's Just Steph got her inspiration from. I cannot remember. I don't watch a whole lot of like really larger creators. I can't remember. I can't remember entirely, but I do know that there's been several creators that have done this. So all that aside, this is the oldest products in my makeup collection that I still have in my makeup collection, and I am actually pretty impressed that there's not more here. Because it could be much worse. It could be much worse. And I hope that that sounds like something you're interested in. For those of you new here, hi, my name is Donna. I'm a lover of all things high-end, colorful beauty and self-care. I work in the beauty industry as a field leader for Ulta. I get a lot of education in my position. I like to bring in that education here, but ultimately, honestly, I'm just out here talking about makeup because I really like to talk about makeup, and I'm assuming if you're here, you also like to talk about makeup. So if you're interested in hearing about all the things that I have in my collection that are so old they could be in school right now, please keep on watching. I know my friend Steph just did like anything from 2020 and behind that, but I didn't. I did anything 2017 or behind that, or before that. So anything that I brought into my collection pre-2017 up to 2017. And the biggest reason why is because I didn't even start wearing makeup until 2017. So honestly, the things in my collection aren't really that old. In the grand scheme of things, they could be much older. I do have a couple of things in my collection that predated 2017, and it's because I went into an Ulta Beauty, my very first Ulta Beauty ever, and got a makeup application done by a vendor that was in the store at that point in time, and bought so much on that day. But these are the only two things that still exist in my collection from that time frame. But everything else that I'm about to share with you came into my collection in 2017. I started this channel in 2017, in August of 2017, and that was pretty much right around the same time I really started wearing makeup, except for like eyeliner, maybe a couple of other like mini things, because I just didn't wear makeup. I didn't find that it, as a matter of fact, I remember laughing at some of my brother's girlfriends because they had a whole room dedicated to makeup, and then here I am, a whole room dedicated to makeup. So with that said, let's just jump in. The first two items I have for you are those two items that I purchased because I went into an Ulta Beauty and got my makeup done by a brand partner, and that vendor was from Bare Minerals. These are the Bare Minerals loose eyeshadows, which is the only way Bare Minerals eyeshadows used to come, is in a loose version. This one specifically is from 2009. This is almost 20 years old. Why do I even still have this in my collection? So this is the loose eyeshadow in the shade 1990s. And I don't even honestly know why I still have this in my collection. I don't use it ever. But it is a really beautiful, like kind of like lavender, like smoky lavender shade. And if I used loose shadows very often, this would probably be a shadow that I could get along with. But honestly, it's not really impactful And I think that's probably why I don't wear it, but also it's really pretty. Like if I wore eyeshadows that were loose eyeshadows, I would probably get my game on with that shadow because it is gorgeous. I should put it into a Shop My Stash to get some use out of it. The other one I bought was this one, and the lid is a lot different than the lid on the other one. This one is in the shade Treasure Island, and this one specifically should go because it is kind of goldy and a little bit more, definitely not my jam. It's kind of just dirty, dingy, like almost like a antique green or an antique bronze kind of shade. I don't know why I keep these around. I got this one in 2009, and then this one I purchased in 2010 when I decided to go back and get my makeup done again by the same person or by the same brand. These somehow outlasted all the declutters and whatnot. I did at one point in time have like 10 of those loose eyeshadows that I decided to declutter, and those two are the only two that still stick around. Why I've kept them, I have no idea. The rest of this came from 2017. Now, 2017, I started my channel. So, you know, I was just starting to like get my makeup together. So let's start with some lip products because I think I'm most disgusted in the fact that these are still sticking around. So this is just a mini that I got as a free gift with purchase. This is a Too Faced mini in the shade Nude Beach. I don't even know if this is still a Too Faced like lipstick that they have, but this is such a beautiful color and a really honestly comfortable wear. And as sad as this is, I have put this on my lips recently, as a matter of fact, and it performs perfectly fine. It doesn't smell. It doesn't taste bad. In my honest recollection, I don't think it ever smelled like anything. Like, you know, sometimes these days you get lipsticks and they smell like vanilla or cake batter or something like that. I don't think this one has ever smelled, and it certainly doesn't now, and it just glides on so beautifully. It doesn't like exacerbate texture, so I keep it around because it's perfectly fine. Even when I wore it the other day, it didn't taste awful. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. And I know that that's kind of gross, but it also isn't because there's nothing wrong with it. And I think that, you know, way back in the day, makeup was built very differently. Like we put things into our makeup to make it last longer. And I think that that's why some of these things are in here. I also got these two Lorac lipsticks. I have it in the shade Hipster, which is kind of like a bricky red color. And then I have it also in the shade Secret Agent, which is kind of like a more mauve color. These don't smell either. I do think that these at one point in time had a nice like scent to them, like a vanilla-y scent to them. But this one is Secret Agent. It's a really pretty like plummy mauve. And then this one is Hipster, which is a brick red. This one I will never wear, so this one likely should get decluttered. I just don't wear those shades anymore, which I used to at one point in time. I used to. I also got these two lipsticks, and these are the last of the lipsticks that remain in my collection from that time frame. And these are Becca lipsticks, so you know that they're dang old. This one is in the shade Taupe, and it is another kind of like more muted brick red color. They don't smell. Actually, they smell actually quite good still. They still have a little bit of a vanilla scent to them. There's that one, a little bit more muted, like bricky color to that. And then this one is in the shade Burgundy, and it's definitely not a burgundy. It's more like a red. Again, it smells kind of good actually still. And that is that shade there. That's definitely not a burgundy. But I mean, if any of them go, it's probably going to be this Lorac one because I won't wear this color. And that color does kind of stink. I will probably declutter that one at some point. So moving on from lip products, and I feel like those are probably the grossest of the gross, right? Those are the products that probably shouldn't still exist in my collection 7 years later. But then I also have some eyeliners that I brought into my collection about the same time. Now, these two, they're cargo swimmables. I did use up the other two that came in this set when I purchased them. I guess that maybe there were three. I had a black, a green, a blue, a purple, and a brown. And I used the black and the green and the brown. The only two remaining are these two. I did put these in my plan to pan for this year. But as I'm using these, I feel like they are not as great as they once were. And of course they're not. They are old as dirt in my collection. And they're just not really colors that I find myself pulling for all that often. I feel like they will take me 8 more years to pan, so I likely these will get decluttered at some point this year. The other two I bought around Christmas time 2017, so they're slightly less old than those two, but these are the Smashbox Always On eyeliners in the shades Nymph and Bubbly. Now Bubbly is kind of like a champagne-y color, which I actually quite love for like inner corner, brow bone. And then Nymph is another one of those deep purple colors, but I really like this one a lot more than the cargo one. That one is a little bit more metallic. This one is definitely more matte, but those are those two. And these still feel really very creamy. So I don't like suffer, they don't like have crumbling issues. I have no problem sharpening them. These two will likely stay in my collection because they're not impacting me as much as the cargo ones. The cargo ones actually do irritate my eyes a little bit. And your eyes are sacred. Like, you should not be doing anything that might irritate your eyes. The only single like panned eyeshadow that I still have from way back when is this one here. This is a shade by ColourPop. It is in the shade Boxer. And this is actually one that I thought about decluttering because it just isn't as impactful as it once was. You have to go in pretty hard to get any kind of impact out of it. But man, it is such a pretty color and I really do like it a lot when I do wear it. It's a very gorgeous, like bronzy color, but I do think that at the end of the day, this one should probably be decluttered because it's just really dry and it takes a lot of effort to get anything on your eyelid, and it hard pans like so easy, but it's such a pretty color. I also have a loose eyeshadow that I got around that same time frame in a like an Ipsy, I think in like September time frame. This is from Meech and Mia, and this one is actually quite beautiful. It is in the shade Beige, but it is not beige. As you can see, it looks like this. It is so pretty. It is such a pretty and impactful like loose shadow that I have a hard time like getting rid of it because it's a powder. Number one, it's a loose powder. And number two, it's not like you know, it's going directly onto my eyelids or I'm putting like even a brush into them. Like I'm dumping a little bit out every single time I use it into the lid. So I'm not like dipping back in. I don't feel like it is as at risk as something like maybe a Super Shock where I'm actually putting a brush in or my finger. I did pick up 5 Super Shocks in 2017 that still exist in my collection. I picked up several actually, and I have a couple videos I'll stick in here for you guys, but this one I'll always keep. This one is in the shade Donna. What I will say though is when I went in to think about decluttering these things, like they're just so creamy still, and I don't see any reason to get rid of them when they are still so creamy. This one is in the shade Valley Girl, and it is such a beautiful like white gold. Yes. I got this one here, which is in the shade Lala. This one is a little bit dry. This one I could probably get rid of, honestly. It's pretty dry and kind of patchy, honestly. So I do think Lala could probably go. I have Cricket, which is kind of like a burgundy, like almost a aubergine color, and it is gorgeous and a little bit flaky, chunky, but still really kind of moist. And then I have Porter, which is kind of like a brick red color, and you guys can see these have all gotten, you know, quite a bit of use. This also is a little bit like flaky, chunky, but God, what a beautiful brick red, right? So I think that yes, there are some like dryness factors to these two, the like aubergine and the red. They're a little bit more dry than the other ones. This one is really dry, the Lala shade, so it could probably go. But the other ones are just still so very pretty and still pretty moisture rich, which is what you would expect from a Super Shock. I did get highlighters. Now this one I got from a BoxyCharm. This is the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector in Opal, and this actually like started my enthusiasm for highlights in the first place. I mean, that is just gorgeous, so that will stick around. I also have the Laura Geller Baked Gelato Swirl in Diamond Dust. Now this one I just used not that long ago in like deck of panning. Maybe it was last year actually. And I love it. I love it so much. And it isn't dry. It's still super impactful. It doesn't look powdery on the skin. So I'll keep it. And then from TJ Maxx, I did pick up this Aurora Glow Kit from ABH. And this is what it looks like. And it just has 6 different variants of highlighter in different colors, and I really like this for like inner corner highlight or like see me from the moon kind of highlighters when I'm going after something different or something unexpected. So I do keep that around for that reason. I also picked up 2 blush kits in 2017, one being the ABH blush kit in Gradient and one being the Tarte Blush Bazaar around Christmas time. This one I cannot remember when it came out. These are so dark, but also so really cool. Honestly, you can sheer them out a little bit. Yes, it's not made for my skin tone, but I do love it quite a lot and have a really good time with this blush kit. And I actually used it in a video before doing like a monochromatic look. And then this Tarte Blush Bazaar actually is a product that I got and I did like a review on. And that video has seen the most views on my channel. This is a really pretty blush kit. It's a blush kit I still use. Like, these blushes are so firmly packed and so beautifully long lasting. They're the 12-hour Amazonian clay blushes. You can hardly tell I've used them, but you can see on the packaging itself that I have used this blush kit ad nauseum. So of the like face and eye products that I still have in my collection, that is it. The rest of these are palettes. Again, this was the year that I started my YouTube channel, so I was like getting stuff together. Some of these were gifts. Some of these came from like Ipsies and BoxyCharms and stuff like that. The first one though is this. This was the catalyst for every single thing that I am doing today. This was a palette that I purchased in January for a Christmas celebration for my daughter. It was on sale at Sephora at the time that I purchased it because it was past the holiday season and they were trying to clear out stock, and I purchased this palette and 2 other palettes. I kept this one. I gave the other 2 to my daughter. Catalyst for my channel. Really love this palette. It has been decluttered recently and is currently in my nostalgia drawer. I also purchased these 2 palettes here from Viseart when I had no business buying Viseart. I got them from a Muse Beauty, I think, buy 2 get 2 sale. So I I bought 2 palettes and I got like a bunch of free products that came with them. This one is the Sultry Muse, not my favorite. It's full of the Viseart shimmers and I don't really love their shimmer formula. This one is the Dark Mattes palette and I love this palette. It is such a great palette in my collection. I utilize it actually quite a lot. Viseart shadows are so firmly packed and no matter how much you use them, they never look used. So there's that. I also did receive these 2 palettes. I think these are the only 2 from BoxyCharm that still exist in my collection. One is the Winky Lux Kitten palette, which I actually really quite love. It's still a pretty impactful palette. It still performs quite well. The other one is the ColourPop My Little Pony palette. This one also lives in my nostalgia drawer because I can't use it anymore. The quality of this one has seriously disintegrated. So this one I love, but it's in my nostalgia drawer because I can't use it. 2 palettes that I will never forget coming out are these 2 here because this one was the very first whole collection that I ever bought from a company. This is the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette, and I bought the whole Sweet Peach collection when it came out. Loved this palette, still love this palette, and it still smells like peaches. So I will keep it going in my collection until it doesn't perform anymore or doesn't smell like peaches. And then this one I remember setting an alarm for and being at work in the middle of a meeting with my DM at the time and being like, oh, pause, I need to go do something really quick. Stepped out of the room and purchased this palette because it was launching at that time. This is the ABH Subculture palette. Now, I never had the problems with this palette that other people had, so never have I ever regretted that purchase. I also purchased this KVD Shade and Light Eye Quad from TJ Maxx. This isn't like one that I think is a fantastic palette, but it's also not a bad palette and it's a really good on the go. This one was my very first super expensive palette. I think I paid over $60 for this. I think it was $62, and I absolutely had to have it in my collection. It was back when she was still Kat Von D, and I don't regret this either, and it will likely not leave my collection anytime soon. I did purchase the Lorac Pro palette just because I felt like it was a really good palette to have, and because the formulation of these Lorac palettes I had heard was phenomenal, and it truly is. Probably the best white and best black that I have in my collection, hands down. I don't love Lorac shimmers, but I've heard that their new formula of shimmers is much better than their old formula of shimmers. I did receive like 2 or 3 more of these kind of palettes in like BoxyCharm. I think I got one in FabFitFun. I do think that I got one in Gratis also right after I started with Ulta Beauty in 2019. But I have decluttered those because they just maybe weren't my color story at the time. But really great staple palette, and I will keep that in my collection until I can't anymore. Another one that I purchased that was really expensive at the time was this one, the Tarte Pro palette. Now, Tarte used to be my favorite brand probably ever, hands down. Again, another really great white in this palette, another really great like brown in this palette. I would say that this black down here in the corner is more of like a brown, like really deep blackened espresso shade than it is a black, but the shimmers in this were not great at all, and I really love Tarte's mattes just because of my experience with this palette. Now, I did end up purchasing the Tarte Pro 2 palette, the remix palette, and I didn't love that palette. I still have that one in my collection, but I didn't love that palette. At that time, Jaclyn Hill was all the rage on the YouTube space. So I did buy the Jaclyn Hill palette when it came out from Morphe. And this is the original Jaclyn Hill palette, not the reformulated one. So this one is the vegan formula. So I keep a hold of it for that reason, but I don't use it anymore. I guess I should. Another one that I fell in love with because of the whole like vibes of it was this Tarte Make Believe in Yourself palette. This is probably the most used palette in my collection at this point, but only because I've had it in my project pans for the last 2 years trying to pan it. The last 2 are going to be these 2. I got these both as gifts. This one I got as a gift from a friend of mine. It is the ABH Modern Ren, like really iconic palette. I wanted to redo a video utilizing many ways, like Halo Eye using this palette or his tutorial. And so I think my kid bought it for me, and my kid also bought this one for me for Christmas that same year. And this is the Juvia's Place Masquerade palette. I was enamored by Juvia's Place when they first came onto the scene, or when I first came onto the scene, and so she bought me this for Christmas. That is it. Those are the products that I still have in my collection that I bought when I first started dabbling into makeup, and I would be interested to hear you guys' thoughts. What do you have in your collection that's so old it could be in elementary school at this point? I would be interested to hear from you down in the comments section. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I enjoyed doing it and digging out all the products from my collection. You likely will see some of these in a declutter very soon, but with that said, thank you all so much for coming today. I appreciate every single one of you for being here. I hope that you loved the video. I hope that you'll want to subscribe before you go. And I just hope that you all are doing well, loving each other, being kind humans, living your best life. And until next time, bye friends.